Ekam aksharam hrudi nirantaram bhavasati swayam likyate hridaya kuhara madhye kevalam brahmamatram yaham moham iti Atmarupena bhati Hrudi vishamanasa swam Chinvata majjata Vanachalanarodha Atmanishto bhavatam Deham mrunmaya jadatmakam aham buddhirna tasyastyako naham tata bhavashukti samaye siddhatmasabha Oham ayukat kuto varadhiya drishtatmanishtatmana soham spurtitaya arunachala shiva purno vibhati swayam soham spurtitaya arunachala shiva purno vibhati swayam Namo Ramana. With Bhagavan's immense grace, we have been meditating on the verses of Anma bodham, the Atma bodha in Sanskrit. We have been relying on the translation in Tamil of the Sanskrit original. The translation has been done by Bhagavan, Sri Ramana Maharshi. We are in that segment where the Jivan Mukta is merging into his nature as Videha Mukta. That is in Brahman. Brahman being beyond all limitations. Brahman being beyond time. It is eternal. Brahman being beyond space. It is everywhere. Brahman being beyond name and form. It is everyone and everything. That is where the Jivan Mukta is merging. We are going to take up 3 verses, if that's possible, which directly take us from Jivan Mukti to Videha Mukti. 51st is how in the Ananda Swarupa the Jivan Mukta merges. 52 is how in the Chit Swarupa the Jivan Mukta merges. And 53 is how in the Sat Swarupa, which the 3 are not different, there the Videha Mukti is complete. So let us get into the 51st verse. We may recall that in the 50th verse, the whole journey of the Jiva and the march of the truth towards the Jiva, in whatever way we may call it, and how Sri Rama, the Paramatma, and Sita Devi, the Jivatma, they have merged and is now called as the Jivan Mukta. The Mukti is from Jiva Bhava. So in the 51st verse, 52nd verse and 53rd verse, how this Aikyam of Paramatma and Jivatma is completed is taken up by the Acharya. The 51st verse is Anitta Veliyin Vichai Atran Yanma. Anitta Veliyin Vichai Atran Ai Anma. Tanninbil Tirthi Tannai Utru Anisamum Tannoliyal Tannoniyarkun Tannul Vilakkena Tannulle Tanulirvan Tam. Anitta Veliyin Vichai Atranai Anma Taninbir Tirthi Tannai Utru Tanisamum Tannuliyar Udam Tannul Vilakkena Tannulle Tanulirvan Tam. I have missed the meter there, but the meaning is quite clear. Anitta Veli in Bichai Atran. Veli Inbu is the happiness or pleasure that is derived from the outside. Veli Inbu is the happiness derived from outside oneself. The very fact that we are seeking it outside ourselves, by implication, it means that we have limited both ourselves and the happiness that we are, or the pleasure we are going to experience. It is always, the Veli Inbu is always limited. I have been interested in the cinemas for quite a long time. If we look at how the sound and light have moved from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the first decade and the second decade of this millennium, if you take that, there is a remarkable increase in the sound delivered by the screen, and also there is a remarkable need for a variety of color inputs that is seen on the screen. That is, both the seeing as well as hearing have progressively needed more and more to keep the viewer, the average viewer, attracted. If you see those who are aged like me, of my age, you will know what was the sound systems and the sound delivered in a cinema theater in the 70s, and what is the sound delivered now, especially with the earphones that we have got, and the nuances of the sound and the sound itself being delivered so close that the jiva from that very inbu, it has required more and more and more. And no need to talk about the violence part. There has been more and more gore or goriness, not the Hindi goriness. We say that what was there in the 1990s and 2000s in the Hollywood is what is now depicted. The gore and the blood, and it has been more and more to satisfy the Veli. Therefore, we see that not only is it limited, but when you get used to a particular level, then the satisfaction diminishes and you necessarily have to increase the level up to which the sensory excitation is taking place. The movement in cricket, the movement in various games, from slow fields where artistry was there, on to speedy turfs where one can put the ball from this end of the field to that end of the field in one stroke. All these indicate that the sensory inputs, the Veli inbum, are limited and of diminishing utility. The third cup of coffee will obviously not be giving as much satisfaction as the first one. So one who inquires into this cuts off the Veli inbu. The Veli inbu is of this nature. And Bhagavan says, keep it moderate. The food or the basic requirements, keep it moderate so that it doesn't slip into unconscious habit. Anitaveliyin pichai atram ay Anma. So if we leave the Veli inbu, what is the inbu that the Jivan Mukta, the Jnani, is going to seek? Anma tan inbil irutti tanai utru. Anma tan inbil. The happiness of the self alone is sought by the Jivan Mukta. There is clarity that there is no happiness in the outside objects. Slowly we may graduate from outside objects to outside relationships. We find that the Harvard University over the last 75 years has done a research with about 5 directors changing, and the net result of that finding, which they have put on the YouTube freely for all. It is a very costly research spread over so many decades. What they have found is that there is no happiness in the outside objects, the sensory objects, but the happiness that is recorded by the individuals in the research, which strangely or not so strangely, the non-Harvard people who are not so educated have experienced more than the Harvard students who have come out into society. What they have found out is that the happiness is from long-lasting relationship. Just one relationship if you have over lifetime, over so many decades, and there has been many instances of give and take whereby the relationship has been preserved. The love in the relationship has been preserved. That is where happiness is, they find. But then Vedanta goes into that and finds that are these individuals available in deep sleep? You have meticulously maintained the identity of a good father, good husband, good son, or let's say a good Indian, good Prajai. Vedanta is completely absolute in its discrimination. If there is a little bit of untruth also, it will like you to drop it. The inquiry Vedanta makes it is that is there happiness in that relationship which up to which Harvard University has come? They have not gone into deep sleep. And we find that these relationships don't come into deep sleep. That is why the jnanis seek the Atma Swarupa. But we can get that as a padav, as a step, that the highest in the world is one relationship meticulously sacrificed and maintained, that is almost divine. But then that is still outward happiness. The identity gives you happiness because you are such a good son, good father. Against many challenges, you have maintained that. So that is a subtle happiness which is there by identity, but then that is also not real. Such asai also, such inbam also is not sought by the jnani. What is the inbam sought by the jnani? Anma tannil inbutru irtripti tanai utru. The tripti, the satisfaction, the contentment is in the happiness of the self. One understands that the self-attention brings the real happiness. It brings the real happiness beyond waking, dream, and deep sleep. It is self-contained, it is self-luminous. In this verse, we are going to see how the Acharya merges happiness in our vision. Happiness is something with emotional content. He is going to mix it with light, because the example he takes is that of a light lamp placed within a pot. Anisamu tannoliyal udam tannul vilakkena tannulle taan oliruvan taan. How does the jnani experience that anandam? Even the last of the anandams in the outside world, that is a relationship. We find I have been trying to be a good son because my brother has handed over my mother to me. He has taken care of her for more than 20 years. And he has handed over to me to take care. And I know that by playing the role of a good son, I have a sense of happiness, a contentment, which is indirect, inexpressible, but it is there. And what are the sacrifices I would have had to make in her old age because of the pain being experienced constantly? What mother may do, she may try to test whether really I am loyal. And since she is very intellectual, she may use all the equipments at her disposal, use her weakness and try to trigger where I may doubt whether I am a good son or not. But then I am aware of that, and I don't take happiness from being a good son, but only in the Atma Swarupa. Because if Amma points out that yesterday when this was happening to me, you were not there, then I may start doubting whether I have lived up to the mark in being a good son. So since it's a doubtable happiness, I drop it and I come to the steady happiness of who I am from the Atma Swarupa alone. Then the seva to mother is not for even the identity of being a good son, but it is completely free. The Karma Yoga rule that do the service without expecting result, even result in the form of a good identity, that is being carried out. And therefore, I happily do the seva rather than do the seva for even the subtle happiness of a good identity. So the Atma Swarupa alone is treated as the source and the direct experience of happiness. How the Acharya shifts the planes from happiness, he shifts to light. How is the example given? The example is, it is like a lamp placed inside a pot. A lamp placed outside the pot will reveal other objects, whereas a lamp placed inside the pot is self-contained. That is the nearest example that can be given. Of course, the example, as usual, will have limitations. We will have to directly experience and check it. So, dropping all the transitory happinesses that are present in outside objects and even in outside relationships, though Harvard University itself may say that there is happiness is there, dropping all that, clearly identifying that the tripti, the contentment will only be in the eye attending to its own existence. There is tripti in the light attending to itself, which is like a lamp placed inside a pot. That is verse number 51, where the Ananda is merged. The body, Bhagavan says to Kapali Shastri, what is the bodily experience? Asks Kapali Shastri when the merger takes place. Bhagavan says, the very thing that eats you, you are offering yourself, the body, as food for the Swarupa. The very thing that eats you is full of bliss. So the transformation of the body into Ananda is full of bliss. Then not even that, he says. Then even the bliss gets absorbed into peace, which is what we are going to see in the next two verses. Let me chant the first verse so that I get the meter back. உள்ளலர உள்ளத்தே உள்ளதால் உள்ளமெனும் உள்ள பொருள் உள்ளவன் உள்ளத்தே உள்ளபடி உள்ளதே உள்ளலுணர்வாயே உள்ளகல உபாதி உற்றானேனும் ஒட்டாவெண் போலவ் உபாதிதரு மங்களோடொட்டான் உபாதியிலான் முற்றறிவன் ஏனும் முனி மூடனென வாயு போல் பற்றற்று சஞ்சரிப்பான் உபாதி உற்றானேனும் ஒட்டாவின் போலவ் உபாதிதரு மங்களோடொட்டான் உபாதியிலான் முற்றறிவன் ஏனும் முனி மூடன் என வாயு போல் பற்றற்று சஞ்சரிப்பான். Here the chit, Ananda, the body itself, the Sthula Sharira is full of bliss, is full of Ananda. Now what is the chit? What is the mind going to? How it is going to merge in the Chit Swarupa? By non-attachment to upadis. The key word in this verse is non-attachment. The jiva becomes jiva because of attachment to upadis. By non-attachments to the upadis, he merges into the Chit Swarupa. The Ananda Swarupa is merged by dropping happiness, seeking happiness from outside objects and turning inward into the happiness of the self. The Chit Swarupa is by non-attachment to the upadhis. Upadhi utranena. Though the jnani appears to have upadhi and seems to roam around, seems to function just like anybody else, having food, walking over the hills, checking the proof of books. If you read day by day with Bhagavan, practically you see that Bhagavan would ask for books, would read from books, would help the devotees with whatever they are doing. the sanctity that is presented in the Munagal Venkatramaya book of talks and the letters with Ramanacentre, you find in day by day the author writing very mundane activities. At the same time, some of the quotes in day by day are unique. You won't find them even in talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi or in letters from Ramanashram. The author's mind is able to see both the mundane activities that Bhagavan was doing, like calling for books, turning the book, then quoting from some Tamil literature. Muruganar would quote, all these are written. When Venkateshji is reading and explaining in the morning satsang, we find very simple mundane activities being involved in by the jnani, by Bhagavan. So upadhi utranena, it appears as though he is as much attached to his upadhis as the rest of us. But no, though he is having the upadhis, though he is using the upadhis, he is wind polar. So the first example here taken is like this space. Like the space, he is unattached to the upadhis. That means what? Like I was saying, my mother, because she is psychologically so advanced and intellectual, she may try to test where my service or identity as the sevak, as the Nandakumar, who is the son, is weak. She will say, I am complaining so much about the attendant, but you are not caring at all. You are not considering. Are you really considering what I am saying as true? So I will just respond, Amma, you know even my triggers. So will you not know how to manage the attendant? You can very easily manage her with your intellect. That way there will be slipping or non-attachment in the action. That when she is so intelligent to know what triggers my intellect and my jiva, will she not know how to manage it with the attendant? So that way we are able to easily see and detach ourselves. That's only an instance, but the jnani, it is said that totally detached from the upadhis, though only by functioning with us, he can give us an opportunity to share some of our ignorance and get rid of it, isn't it? See, only by opening the ashram in 1922 in the base of Arunachala, those who could not climb also could take the benefit of his darshan, his upadesham and all that. We find in there is Nandi Hills here, where on top of the hills there is Yogeshwara, and in the base of the hill there is Bhogeshwara. Only the people who are seriously interested in tapas can go up the hill, reject all the other attachments and go up and seek the jnani there and meet him. Whereas the jnani comes down for our sake as his stay in this world goes on, and he realizes more and more the weaknesses we have and the difficulties we have in understanding. He comes down from Virupacha and Skandashram to the base so that the least of us can access him and learn. That is how, by participating in our relationships, he allows us to get into the knowledge and then start the practice with his grace. But then is he attached when he is doing the upadesham? No, the jnani is said to be the master of the dream illusion. This is a dream into which he can enter to give us upadesham, how to get out of the dream. But then he himself doesn't take the dream to be real. He doesn't make any value to to his Upadesham. He doesn't feel the satsang should grow. He doesn't feel that his ashram should grow. When somebody would ask Bhagavan, can I be a member of your ashram? Bhagavan will say, you are already a member. The Atma Swarupa has consumed the whole world. And therefore, who is not a member of Bhagavan's Satsanga? That is how the Jnani is free of his Upadhis. Upadhi Utranenum. Otta Vindpola. Otta Vindpola means the happenings in the world, the triggers in the world do not touch the Jnani, because he is aware that there is nothing to be expected there. There is only reality is in the self, but still he participates. He participates in the, you're saying I am your devotee. Okay, let me be your God. If you say you are disabled, okay, let me be your guru. But then is he attached? No. How he is not attached? Just like the operation of the other four elements does not touch the Akasha, just like that, the Jnani is free. There is another Upamana given that he acts like the wind. What are these two? Like the Vanam and like the wind. Wind and Katra. What is the comparison there? In the wind, even when he is acting, he does not disturb the world. Like the space, he is not disturbed by the world. There is a verse in Bhagavad Gita Saram, which is obviously in Bhagavad Gita, where Bhagavan quotes Sri Krishna as saying, the Jnani is one who is not disturbed by the world and does not in the least disturb it. He does not disturb the world in the least. That is what is meant in these two examples taken as space, as the space is unaffected by the triggers. They may make the highest triggers and try to pull you, try to hurt you, try to say you are a useless dad, you are a useless son. But who is a son? That relationship is no more the thing that is keeping you. That which is keeping you is only the self-attention, that you are one with the Guru, the Atma Swarupa. Therefore, any taunt or any hurting words are useless. It just remains with the one who is wielding those weapons. Upadhi Utranenu. Otta Vinpolam. Upadhi Dharmangalod Ottan. Upadhi Ilan. Mutra Adivanenam. The Jnani knows everything. What is the Chit Swarupa? The self-knowledge, the self-shining self is knowledge of everything. Tannai arindidil, pin endai uladariye. It is sarvajnatva. When you know this Purana, it is knowing everything. It is happiness through knowing everything. The Ananda and Chit Swarupa merge in knowing everything. In Spurana, when you know this Purana, when you are feeling this Purana, I am having knowledge of this Purana, that is the Purna Ananda. So the Ananda and Chit Swarupa have merged in non-attachment. When you are seeking happiness within, you have merged your body with the Ananda within. When you are non-attached to the Upadhis, you have merged your body and your mind to the self-attention. And how does he behave in the world? He behaves mutrarindan. He understands everything. But then mudaden. He behaves like a mudam, like a fool, because they will say, Hare Baba, that person is CGM, he is DGM, he is actually the Raja who is coming. Why are you? Oh, who is Raja? Who is the elephant? The Ribu will ask his student. The student will say, the Raja is coming in procession. And Ribu will say, who is the Raja? Who is the elephant? Then Nidaga will get really wild. What? You cannot even recognize that? Then you bend down, you say, and he'll force him to bend down, sit on his top and say, you see, like me, Raja is on top, and like you, the elephant is down. Acha, acha, acha. You are saying, you were telling some unknown concepts like Raja and elephant. Now you are adding two more, up and down. What is this up and down? You see, I am up above and you are down. I am up and you are down. Nidaga will say, you have introduced two more. What is this I and what is this you are saying? And then Nidaga will realize all the Vedas in the world, all the Vedas arise only after I am this body thought arises. And that is what my Guru has come to tell. So he will behave like a modern. He will not know the difference between king and elephant, up and down, east, west, south, north, not known. Therefore, he will behave like a fool. Mudanana Vayupur, Patratra Sancharipan. Like the breeze, he will, without hurting anybody, without affecting anybody, without disturbing their sadhana. You are doing this, please do that. You do that with Shraddha, you will reach it. Because he understands that Atma Shakti is present as Ishvara within everyone. It is guiding everyone. So therefore, he doesn't disturb anybody in their sadhana. He's not saying, hey, you should do self-enquiry. Say, no. He is relying in the self, not disturbing anyone, not disturbed by anyone, behaves like an absolute fool because he doesn't know the Vedas. And the final verse 53, we find what is Videha Mukti. These two are still Jivan Mukti because there is non-attachment. There is non-attachment means from something you are non-attached, isn't it? To that extent, there is an awareness of the Upadhi. to that extent, here there is a Upadhi Unarva. But in the final verse, Upadina Sattaluruvan Ulladala Ullavunar Ulladu Ullapurul Ullallara Ullatti Upadina Sattal Uruvan Munipan Upadiyil Vishnuvin Ulle Abedame Toyatil Toyamum Tuvinnille Vinnum Tiyat Tiyum Polte Upadina Sattal Uruvan Munivan Upadiyil Vishnuvin Ulle Abedame Toyatil Toyamum Tuvinnille Vindum Tiyil Tiyum Polte. What is Videha Mukti? The beauty of Videha Mukti, Upadhi Yil. There in the previous verse, Upadhi Utranenam Ottan. There is detachment. To that extent, Upadesha is there that there is a detachment from Upadhi. But here Upadhi itself does not exist. What does this mean? When does one reach Videha Mukti? Though the body is there, Bhagavan says, to some, without the body dying itself, Videha Mukti is experienced. What is that? See, in science, the scientists have come up to a point where they have realized that we human beings in the body, we are all made of star stuff. To make one hydrogen atom, to make one carbon atom, of which we have so much. Primarily, organic material is made of carbon and hydrogen and many other atoms. All these atoms are formed by the destruction of stars and reassembling of stars. The star dance, it is called. Over billions of years. So the body is made of star material. So the cosmos is present in us. We are part of cosmos. So now the bombshell as to what is Videha Mukti, that when we are inquiring who am I, the entire cosmos is inquiring through us. The scientists themselves say, Carl Sagan, there is a song called The Symphony of Science. You can tune in and see the lyrics. There the scientists have all, the 4 or 5 top scientists have agreed that the cosmos is present in us. We are a way for the cosmos to know itself. We, the humans, which are part of cosmos, are a way for the cosmos. So when we are inquiring who am I, cosmos is inquired. Namandri nadedu nadedu. When time and space are inquired out, time and space are upadhis of cosmos. So in one sense, we are part of cosmos. So when we are doing who am I, it is the cosmos which is inquiring. We are part of Ishvara. So when we are doing who am I, it is Ishvara who is doing self-enquiry. And when we understand that, then the cosmos itself is without upadhi. When the self-realization comes with that knowledge that the cosmos itself is inquiring. And what is the truth of cosmos? It is not the body. It is not the form with which the cosmos is available. It is the Atma Swarupa. So the truth of the Jiva is the truth of the cosmos. The identity is there. And the identity is so established in self-attention that the seer, seeing, seen, knower, knowing, known is demolished out of existence. That there is no cosmos born for there to be any pralaya. the Neil deGrasse Tyson, one of the scientists in that video, if you see, he will inquire whether the world, the universe will collapse, shrink and die, or whether it will burst and die. Where is shrinking and die and bursting and dying when it does not exist for the jnani, when it has been inquired out of existence in the Atma Swarupa? Where is Srishti, where is Pralaya? And Bhagavan will say, see, if you are born, then you will know whether the world or the mother was born. Who is the mother? The mother is the Atma Swarupa. If the entire cosmos is Atma Swarupa, how can she alone be something else? Whoever it may be, you are with their reality is only the Atma Swarupa. There the Videha Mukti is given. The Upadhi Illan. Illan means when is one's Upadhi completely gone? Only when one inquires the universe out of existence. It is not merely the physical death. Not merely physical death is Videha Mukti. It is understanding that the real cosmos itself is only the Atma Swarupa. Then there is no form to be searched. So all the three, the Jiva, universe and Ishvara are only the Atma Swarupa. Upadhi illa. To such a one who has inquired and found and realized the truth of the Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara, he is a Videha Mukta here and now, right now, not when the body drops off in time, which does not exist. Time does not exist. So later in time, the body will drop off, then Videha Mukti. No, Bhagavan says Videha Mukti is given to some, he says, but for what he says that we don't know. We have to just do what the Guru says and see whether it works like that. The experimentation has to be with wholeheartedness. And we find that it is the truth that the Videha Mukti is not somewhere down the road. It is here and now. We have to understand when we are sitting for inquiry, at one point, the inquiry itself will reveal this to us, that it is the entire cosmos which is sitting and that inquiry is constantly already there. The cosmos is present in that inquiry. That's why many will say that the cosmos is in meditation. Meditation is going on. Within that, the cosmos is there, they will say. So within the Atma Vichara only, the entire Srishti is there. Of course, that means that the Srishti does not have any existence apart from this. The self alone is Upadhi Nasatta. The Nasam can take place in inquiry, or one may wait, a few of them may work out the Prarabdha, as the Acharya says, and on exhausting the Prarabdha of the body, they will get the Videha Mukti is also said. But then Bhagavan says, Vichara will not wait, need not wait for the dropping of the body. It is a Brahmastram which will take one to the Brahma Swarupa itself. It will reveal how Arunachala has risen and he is shining as eye. Then it will take you beyond the name of Arunachala also. That Arunachala is the existence consciousness, is the Brahma Swarupam. So, the Vicharam will take us beyond all Upadhis, all names and forms, and make one identify with the Brahman here and now. Upadina Sattal Uruvan Munivan Upadiyil Vishnuvin Ulle. Vishnu is the Sarvavyapi. Vishnu here doesn't refer to the God with the various armaments in the forearms. Vishnu is Sarvavyapi, the one who permeates the whole creation. So the Jnani too is now permeating the whole creation. All the planes, that is why it is said, Atma Vichara. Inquire who am I? If some guru tells you, like Bhagavan has given us that Upadesham, that is the last Upadesham needed in any plane of existence. The Jiva which has received the Upadesham, please do self-enquiry, that will take you beyond all karmas if somebody has given that Upadesham. That is the ultimate Upadesham that Jiva can get. In Taittiriya Upanishad, the Anandavalli, it is said that the Ananda which was present in 51st verse, Brahman which is in the 14th plane, that Brahma who is an individual in the 14th plane, the Srishtikarta of the Satyaloka, his Ananda is 10 to the power of 28 times, 10 to the power of 28 times the Ananda of the most happiest Jiva who is in the sensory world. Take the happiest being in the sensory world as unit 1. There are 14 planes. Let's take each plane, the highest happiness of that plane is 100 times more than the preceding plane. So 100 means 2 zeros. 14 into 2 is 28. 10 to the power of 28 times more happiness is there from the richest, most knowledgeable, most happily married, best son person in this world. But then the Brahmajnani is supposed to be like the Samudra compared to Brahman. That 10 to the power of 28 times happiness is said to be one drop in the ocean of happiness, that is of the Videha Mukta. The Videha Mukta is now not dependent on even the Satyaloka. He may find himself like in Satyaloka just like we find ourselves in this loka. In fact, when we are sharing Atma Vicharam, where else are we except in Satyaloka? When we are not interested in anything else, we are in that plane. But even in that plane, when you find yourself, Bhagavan says, don't be carried away by somebody who is presenting Atma Vichara very nicely. No. Atma Vichara is to be done and abided in. In Satyaloka, what they will be doing, they will be presenting Atma Jnana or Atma Vichara discussions only in that loka, let us take. Now, Bhagavan says, there also don't be carried away by the scene. The happiness, the jnana, and the true existence are in the sphere itself. And go for Atma Vicharam there. This Upadesham, which takes you beyond the triads, that is the best Upadesham any Jiva can get, especially when we get it from the Shakti of Bhagavan. We are the most blessed. And till where it doesn't stop, the Brahmastra doesn't stop, till we reach the Brahma Swarupa. Upadinasatta Uruvan. Now, the Upadis are not merely detached with, they are annihilated. They don't exist. In self-attention, we realize what is the material with which everything and everyone is made of. Just like that clay, they only say that as example. But here really the experience is, oh, this Purana is that with which time and space are made of. This is with which birth and death are made of. There is no birth and death in Purana. But birth and death are made of, appearance and disappearance are made of this stuff. So being that stuff is the only thing I have to do. The only thing that consciousness has to do is to be with this Purana. That Purana, Gambiram Seshayar is told, you hold this Purana and keep still. It will remove you from you the I am the body idea. What I am the body idea? Is it this Upadhi alone? The entire cosmic Upadhi, it will remove. This Purana you hold, it will remove the time and space, it will remove God's will and mind. Vidimadi Mula Vivekam Ilarke, isn't it? It is told in Ulladanarpade. Holding this Purana will take us beyond Vidimadi, it will take us beyond first person, second person, it will take us beyond all names and forms. Upadhi Illan, not Upadhi Vottan. Upadhi Vottan is previous verse. Here Upadhi is not there. The self alone is. Upadhi Nashakkal Guruvan Munivan. Upadhi Vishnuvin Ulle Abedame. Like Ribu says to Nidaga, if you do not arise as ego, is there God, is there down and up? Is there you and me? Is there the procession? Is there the king and the elephant? With what Vedam it starts? You rising as the I thought creates all those Veda Suparupas, Veda Rupas, Nama Rupas. So going inward and taking the I thought to the source completely annihilates all Nama and Rupa. Abedame, Toyatil Toyamu. What are the ways in which, like water is mixed in water, the body will mix in the Atma Swarupa, like light in light, Agni Tiyil Tiyum, like fire merging into fire, the mind will merge into the Chit. And Vindil Vindume, like space merging into space, the Upadiyil Jnani will merge into Brahman. The Brahma Swarupa alone is there. From here on, no more Nama Rupa. No more calling Bhagavan as by a name, and Bhagavan is Brahman. That is how Vedanta stops calling the Ishvara. It only does Upasana of Brahman. Doesn't mean it is not aware of the Ishvara Shakti, the Atma Shakti. It is aware because it teaches even Karma Yoga. So it is aware only that it includes even the non-believers. By going beyond name and form, those who are foolish enough to say God does not exist, even they are supported by the Vedantic knowledge of self-enquiry and Atma Swarupa and Brahman. And that is the way in which the Toyatil Toyamum, like water mixing in water, Tiyil Tiyum, like fire mixes into fire, and Vindile Vindum, the Jiva, the consciousness that is limited, completely destroying all the Upadis, Tan Upadi and Andanda Upadi. The Upadi of the Jiva and the Upadi of the cosmos is completely annihilated into non-existence. That is where the Jivan Mukta merges into Brahman. And here onwards, the next few verses, the Acharya will take us through the nature of Brahman. Because now the individual is no more individuals in the world, no more individual divinities to be worshipped. Because once you merge without all upadis, like the water in water, fire in fire, and space in space, then Brahman alone is. And from here on, the Acharya is going to delineate the nature of Brahman. And we will be meditating on that. I have to say, I can't even use the word Bhagavan's grace, because now that is also one with the Brahman. Bhagavan's grace is definitely there so far as you are an individual identified with Upadis. The Atma Shakti is Bhagavan's grace. Now, it takes itself beyond name and form and drags us, makes us merge in the Brahman. Now, there is nothing more to be meditated on except Brahma Swarupa. Let us practice Atma Vicharam for the next 3 or 4 minutes till 8 o'clock and wait for Akka to address us. Revatima, don't worry, we will do Atma Vicharam and close it. Would Ujjwalji like to say something? Was he hearing? Or somebody else? You want to say something? Revatima? Yeah, we will do the Atma Vicharam, and at 8 o'clock you can say some few words. Namo Ramana. Namo Ramana Revatma.
Ramana uncle. I was just reminded of this one of my favorite songs of ಮುರುಗನಾರ್ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ. ನನ್ನೊಳಗೆ ಬೇರಿಳಿಸಿ ನಿಂತೆ ನೀನು, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಲಿ ನಿನ್ನ ತೊರೆದು ನಾನು. When we do self-enquiry, when we get to that self, merge in that, where can we go away from the self, says Muruganar Swami. One of the analogies we saw in the earlier satsangs is ಚಿನ್ನದಿಂದೇಳುವುದು ಬಣ್ಣದಾಭರಣ, ಆಗಲೂ ಚಿನ್ನ ಇತ್ತೇ ಇರುವುದು, ಕರಗಿಸಲು ಅಳಿಯುವುದು ಆಭರಣ ರೂಪ, ಆಗಲೂ ಹೊನ್ನು ಹಾಗೆ ಇರುವುದು. When we do different ornaments from a piece of gold, the gold remains even when the ornament has taken different shapes. But then when you melt the ornament, the gold remains as it is. From the beginning, when the ornament was there, as well as when the ornament was melted, the Adhara gold is always there. ಸುತ್ತ ಕಾಣುವ ಲೋಕ ನನ್ನಿಂದಲೇ ಎದ್ದು ನನ್ನಲ್ಲಿಯೇ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮೈಯಳಿವುದು, ರೂಪಗಳು ಅಳಿದರೂ ನಾನೆಂಬ ಪ್ರಜ್ಞೆ ನಿತ್ಯವೂ ಸತ್ಯವೂ ಆಗಿರುವುದು. The whole world rises from me and sets within me. When the forms dissolve, the Nanu, the Aham Spurana, the self reveals itself. And then there we are. We are not there. So, this is what I was reminded of. And I would like to finish with the story where Akbar was being praised by many ministers. One of the ministers said, "You are greater than everything." Then the other minister said, "You are greater than the universe." Then one of the ministers said, "You are greater than God also." So Akbar said, "Please prove your point." He couldn't prove it. So Birbal was called up and he said, "Birbal, you prove this point." So Birbal said, "Please give me 1 day's time. I'll tell you tomorrow." When Birbal came the next day, Akbar asked, "Do you have the answer, Birbal?" And Birbal said, "Yes, Jahapna. You can do one thing which God cannot do." Akbar was wondering, what is that I can do which God cannot do? Akbar asked, "Please explain, Birbal." So Birbal said, "Jahapna, you can throw somebody out of your kingdom, but God cannot throw away anybody away from his kingdom, because there is no away, because he is Sarvavyapi, he is Vishnu. He is Vishnu. Likewise, when we are in the self, how can we move away from it? We are always in the self. We just have to realize. We can't even realize. We have to just be in the self. It is just that we take different forms and we get into the world and say, I am away from the self, and I am not able to get that Paramananda Nele. So, Krityamasti kim swasthitim yatah. There is no time, there is no space, Bhagavan says. When there is no time and there is no space, what can we do? We can't do anything else. Krityamasti kim. Can we do anything? We can just be swastithim yatah. We have to be in that self and get dissolved. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Thank you, Uncle.
Namo Ramana, that was wonderful. Thank you. Namo Ramana to all.